and I would like for us to dispel one of them. Do children go through trauma? People don't think kids don't get traumatized.
Children do go through trauma.
Okay.
When you look at the word trauma, it's when you experience when you are faced with a very difficult situation that your brain is not able to cope with in a healthy manner. Now, children grow up and they have emotions. Our emotions don't develop when we are adults. You have emotions from the time you're an infant. They just continue to evolve as you get older. So, of course, a child, even a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, a teenager, as long as you face a very shocking, difficult, negative experience that shocks your mind, that shocks your emotions, you can experience trauma. So, yes, children do go through trauma.
Now, so that is dispelled, basically. And, what are some of the manifestations, the common manifestations usually that you've come across in your dealings with children? Yes.
The common manifestations of trauma?
Of trauma, yes.
So, depending on the ages,
Okay.
But sometimes when you see things like a child who has regressed developmentally, when I say regressed, we mean things like bedwetting. A child was not bedwetting, and then they start bedwetting. You see children who develop anxiety, very fearful of typical situations, typical environments. They are more detached. They might probably be going through some kind of trauma. Changes in their feeding, changes in their sleep patterns. Children are not sleeping, enough, or they wake up with nightmares. Changes in their emotions when it comes to aggression. You're finding a child is more aggressive, a child is acting out a lot more. Those are things that you look at, and you will have to consider that something might have happened that might be traumatizing to a child.
Okay.
Very fearful, anxious. Of course, this is not trauma, but depression can come through that. Acting out with anger, aggression, temper tantrums, bedwetting, sleep challenges. Just basically a child changing from how they would typically, how you expect a typical child to be, happy, going through the normal emotions, just in a normal way, but you find that certain emotions are more extreme. Isolation, they choose to isolate themselves, they become more detached from people, so you find that those are the things that can show you that a child has experienced trauma.
Okay.
Nightmares.
Yes. And as a parent, these are pointers for you to look out or to seek, get help in a situation like that.
Yes.
But now, when we look at children of incarcerated parents, whose parents are in prison, would you paint a picture of that child?
Okay.
Yes.
Let me attempt to paint a picture.
Yes.
Disclaimer: I cannot paint a good complete
yes. No,
picture.
with your experience, but
Yes.
also yes.
Yes. So a child's biggest foundation is their caregivers.
Okay.
From infancy, your caregivers are your foundation. They're the ones that provide you a certain kind of stability, no matter what. These are the people that a child has grown up seeing, knowing, and they know this is their safe environment. So when a child when a parent is incarcerated, is taken to prison, the first and most difficult thing is the separation.
Separation.
So so they go through that separation, and that separation can come with a lot. It can come with anguish, it can come with anxiety, and then this separation is causing a change for this child. So the child is not only experiencing a change in the sense that they are caregivers, they are primary caregivers, the people that they trusted. Just because you smile at a child doesn't mean a child is going to trust you. They trust the people that have raised them. They trust the people that they know. Even if sometimes you don't approve of that parent, you don't approve of that person, that is the person the child has known. So when this is taken away, this is a child it's like the foundation has been ripped away from them. So this is what is happening to a child whose parent has gone to prison. Then what you see happening also is that the environment.
I may have to pause you right there. We take a break and come to look out or to seek, get help in a situation like that.
Yes.
But now, when we look at children of incarcerated parents, whose parents are in prison, would you paint a picture of that child?
Okay.
Yes.
Let me attempt to paint a picture.
Yes.
Disclaimer: I cannot paint a good complete
yes. No,
picture.
with your experience, but
Yes.
also yes.
Yes. So a child's biggest foundation is their caregivers. From infancy. Your caregivers are your foundation. They're the ones that provide you a certain kind of stability. No matter what, these are the people that a child has grown up seeing, knowing, and they know this is their safe environment. So when a child when a parent is incarcerated, is taken to prison, the first and most difficult thing is the separation.
Separation.
So so they go through that separation, and that separation can come with a lot. It can come with anguish, it can come with anxiety, and then this separation is causing a change for this child. So the child is not only experiencing a change in the sense that they are caregivers, they are primary caregivers, the people that they trusted. Just because you smile at a child doesn't mean a child is going to trust you. They trust the people that have raised them. They trust the people that they know. Even if sometimes you don't approve of that parent, you don't approve of that person, that is the person the child has known. So when this is taken away, this is a child who it's like the foundation has been...
And so as we do continue, so there's that separation and the problems that come with separation, the anxieties, the insecurities that creep in,
the confusion.
Please do take us to the next one.
Yes, so another thing that we're going to talk about is the fact that their lives have been disrupted, their day-to-day lives. So you're looking at separation from a parent, but also you're also looking at the fact that if a parent is incarcerated, if you're looking at the fact when a parent is incarcerated, you find that most likely that child is not going to stay in the same environment. Let's say if it's a mother, mothers are primary caregivers, fathers are primary caregivers, depending on who has been taken. In some cases, both parents have been taken to prison. You find that child has to switch from one environment to the other. So this child is experiencing disruptions that also affect how children grow, affect how children cope. Because when you say they strive on stability, that stability is routines, the schools they go to, the friendships they have, the family members, the home that they're used to, the bed that they sleep in, the toys that they're used to playing with, all of that. So usually you find that when a child is separated from their parents because the parent has been taken to prison, they deal with that disruption. And something else that I wanted to mention about the trauma is that in some cases, you do not even know how this happened. And in some cases, children actually witness their parents being taken
or arrested, violently. Take an example, I think of even leave the arresting where one of the Muslim clerics was shot at his home, and I think some of the children witnessed that, so that's
quite traumatic. And this is someone that you see as a sort of a demigod. There is God, and then your parent is the one you look to.
Parent is your hero.
They are your hero, and then you watch them in that position of helplessness, or you watch them being handled in a way that really disturbs you as a child. So again, that anxiety develops from that disruption to who you are, your personality, when a child is acting out, when a child is when I talked about all those other symptoms that that show a child has been traumatized, it not only comes from the separation, but also if the child has actually witnessed that, you will find that some children change even in things like concentration. The ones who continue in school and you hear teachers telling you this child does not concentrate, it's because they no longer have that foundation, that stability. So their mind, their brain is trying to cope with this new normal that has so many balls in the air, you see. And even for you as an adult, that can be a lot. When you have questions and there's so much you don't know and you feel unsafe, and then you have all these memories. So you find that there might be disruptions even to their concentration, to their typical way of playing. They just feel like everything has been taken away from them. And even if they're in a new environment, it's not automatic that is going to be enough. It's a gradual process to support them through that. So you find that these children, depending on the ages, even the teenagers who might isolate, who might become more quiet, who might act out, because they are developed to a point where they are reasoning out and they're thinking about, what does this mean for me? Then they start to look at the world in a different way. All children, it changes the way a child looks at the world. It changes their thought process. It changes the way they think about themselves. So when we're looking at, and it has been said, I've been hearing it on Power FM, that in higher cases they end up also engaging in criminal activities or criminal acts. One, it's because probably they have seen from their parents, so this is what they think is normal, but also is the aspect of feeling like because it has happened to my parent, I'm probably not worth
different.
It. I am not any different.
So then you have issues of esteem.
Yes, you have issues of self-esteem.
Identity.
Loss of self-identity, or even it's still developing, so it's disrupted in the way it's developing.
There was also something about, youth majorly, and children usually blame themselves for what has happened either to their parents or something. Yes.
Yes. So that is very common, because when you hear me saying development, our brains develop gradually in the way we reason, in the way we think, emotionally, socially, cognitively. We develop over time, and they say the brain fully develops about 2021. You see, so when a child is young, they're not able to separate themselves. Yes, they're not able to. Then at the point where they can separate themselves from the situations that happen, they feel responsible. They feel that that in some way they have control over what has happened.
Yeah.
So that is how the blame comes in, because a child is thinking, what could I have done better? Or what can I do to fix this? Because that's how they understand it, as opposed to an adult where you realize that this had nothing to do with me, and even in cases where one parent goes to prison, let's say a mother, and maybe the child is taken to an NGO, a home, and then one parent is actually not visiting, you see, and then this child is perceiving rejection, is actually experiencing rejection, and they're thinking this has something to do with me, yet in actual sense, inside, you find that the parent is feeling overwhelmed, the parent who has stayed, or they feel like I cannot do this, I cannot manage, I cannot handle. But the child, what they see, based on how you respond to a child, they will receive it as rejection because they're still growing through it. So you find that they blame themselves, and they actually try to see, what can I do? Well, how do I change this? If only I had been like this. Maybe if I do this and this. So that constant state of blame and then dealing with the rejection, it's all inward. Yeah.
Wow, you have had it. When we come back, we're going to look at how can we deal with this? How can we be of help? How can we offer support?
As well, in the sense that if this child is no longer going to school, if this child no longer has the necessary resources, that affects them as well. So even as a church, even when we've started there, you are already helping a child. You're already helping a child combat some of the challenges that they're experiencing. Because if they're stuck at home, they're not going to school, if they do not have the essential needs, if the teenager does not have their sanitary pads, if they do not have exposure to trainings to build skills, then that is affecting them greatly, affects who they think they are and who they develop into. So I believe that is already one of the key things that we need to do, not only as one-offs, but it's something to look into, in the sense that these NGOs, these organizations, that people come together and are chipping in and are providing that, so these children can have the closest, or if possible, the same life that a typical child would have, or the closest to it when their parents are away and all these things have been taken away. Another thing that of course is key is that social-emotional support. The social-emotional support. Now, one thing I like to say, it's not, I didn't coin it, but you hear of a champion. When people say that every child needs a champion, every child needs someone in their lives, what that means is that there needs to be a supportive, consistent, committed adult. When I say consistent and committed, the child's parents have been taken away, but it doesn't mean that's the end. And as the Love Family, as the church, we have done that a lot of the times. When you hear of peer mentors, when you hear of supportive adults, people that get into these children's lives and stay there. So these children know that there is someone who cares about me, that I am still a person. This person looks at me and sees me as worthy. But that is not going to come from a visit, you visit this month, then you
miss out. So that spells out consistency.
Consistency, the commitment, as the adult, to build a relationship with this child, to visit, to be there, to play with them, to listen to them. So these children need the adults who are now going to pour into their lives, and the people that are going to pour into their lives, now that their parents are not there. And even in cases where their parents weren't as supportive, they actually have a chance to have a person who has a positive mindset, who is a positive role model, who holds them accountable, who guides them the right way, but is consistent, is committed. And when you're talking about the social-emotional support, you are also thinking of the fact that we need to allow children we need to give them an environment where they can express themselves.
Wow. So there is supportive group, which has to be consistent and committed. And then the other is?
The other is allowing the children to deal with their emotions, freely express their emotions. We
provide an environment, a free environment.
Yes, a free environment. That can come from the supportive adult, but also the programs that come up in these spaces where, say, these children are being supported, or if the child is still with family members, sometimes we move on. We don't give them a chance to express themselves. We tell them it's going to be okay. The child doesn't feel like it's going to be okay. And a lot of the time when we go through things and people say it's going to be okay, you're looking at this person and thinking that's not it, So allowing a child, teaching a child that your emotions are okay. You're scared, you're angry, you are sad, there is excitement. Teaching emotional awareness, emotional intelligence to these children, allowing them to express themselves, and then from there you're guiding them to find ways to cope. So what ways do children cope? A big thing for children, the younger ones, is play.
Allow them play.
People underestimate the power of play, and when children are taken out of environments where they had that, now they're in these new settings, those things need to be there. I heard that when you're going to visit, there's going to be games, and I was really excited when I heard that. And what I thought of is, I hope that this can be done more and more. I hope that if even these places do not have little things that can be built to allow the children to play, you put those there. Because play does a lot for a child, not only with their mind and learning, but for their emotions. It gives them a calmness, it gives them a release. Play is a very important developmental need.
So actually enjoy using play therapy with children.
Yes, I love play therapy as well. Sometimes I feel like I'm the one, the sandpit, I'm the one playing. The stuffed animals, the comfort animals.
Absolutely.
Children need that comfort. Children who have gone through this trauma, they need those comforts. So it's not a luxury to get children stuffed animals, the younger ones, because that might be their comfort. That is that item that provides that comfort. So providing the comfort to you as the adult, in the sense that you listen, you allow them to express themselves, you validate their emotions. That it's okay to feel like this. I can imagine this is how you feel. But on top of that, providing other things that will continue to help them thrive, like play experiences, these comfort, items that are present. Then also, of course, providing them opportunities to build various skills, even resilience. Now, resilience comes from being able to express myself, understand what I'm feeling, sit with myself, then say, how do I now get through this adverse event, this difficult experience? How do I get through it? But that comes from facing it.
Yes, and it's been proven that children many times are most resilient, even more resilient than adults. Yes, they have really strong resilience.
Yes. Yeah, but something that I just want to sort of correct there is that sometimes we say that and we think that it's just going to
happen automatically.
Yes, it doesn't happen automatically. Children are resilient because of what has been provided for them. So the stability, even with the routines. Now, in the places that they're in, is there a routine, a child-friendly routine? Do I have my breakfast? Do I have meals? Do I get to see a teacher? Do I get to see an adult? Do I get to play? But in a routine form. Because they've lost that. And routine is also something that builds that stability for these children. Now, when you go back to these different skills, remember we said that they are still finding their self-identity. They're a bit confused. They were getting it from their parents. So also activities that are focused on helping them discover who they are. From as simple when they are young to draw yourself and write the things about yourself that you like. Looks like a small activity, but you're building self-identity. To the older ones, the teenagers, where you have focus groups, sit and talk about yourselves. Talk about what you like. Talk about who you think you are, what you hope to be. That changes that helps to change that thinking that, you know, I'll be like my dad, or I'll do this, so this is what is supposed to happen to me. Yes. So self-identity, which is going to lead to self-confidence, you know, self-confidence activities. These are things that need to be consistently provided to these children. You're giving them a higher chance of developing like any other child. So you do that as well, and then also just having programs that even build other skills, you know, where they get to learn different things that they can do.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. So that too can also be very. One more that I have to add is counselors and psychologists to deal with anxiety, the depression. Yes.
Awesome. Well, if you'd like to get in touch with Letisiya, what's the number?
It's 0785 201 593.
Okay, 0785 201 593. Okay.